Okay, this is 10.3, operations with radicals. So we're going to add and subtract and multiply. So number one, it says simplify each expression. They all have a radicand of 2. So you just combine like terms. It's the same thing if we had x. So if this was 5x plus 4x minus 3x, we would say 9 minus 3, which is 6. So you're going to do the same thing here. 9 root 2 minus 3 root 2 would give you 6 root 2. You're just combining like terms. So 5, 3 minus 1 plus 7. So 3 minus 1 is 2. And 2 plus 7 is 9. So you just treat that radicand like it would be x. Here I have different radicands. So the 2's, the radicands of 2's, 10 minus 3, which is 7, go together. And 4 and 1 make 5. There's nothing more you can do with this. It can only combine so far. Okay. And here we have 7 root 7. And then we have a 3 root 7 minus 6 root 3. Only the root 7's can go together. That's as far as you can take it. Okay, when we put it in the calculator and round the decimal, it's not in its truest state, so we leave it like that. Not all radical expressions have like radicands. Some must be simplified before combining like terms. So if we can break down this 20, that'd be great. So there was 2 different ways to do this. We could break this down into a root 4 and a root 5 and say that this is 4 root 5 plus this becomes a 2. 5 times 2 root 5. And we get 4 root 5 plus 10 root 5, which is 14 root 5. Some of you have the other method of saying, okay, well, 20 is 4 and 5, and 4 is 2, 2. So you could write it this way and say the square root of 20 is the same thing as 2 times 2 times 5. Find a pair, bring it out, and you have that 5, and that gives you a 10 root 5. So whatever method you prefer. Okay, here we have to break down 12. We can make that a 2 and a 6, and that 6 is a 2 and a 3. So you have root 2 times 3, which is 2 root 3 minus a root 3. That's going to be 2 minus 1, which is 1 root 3. Here we have root 27, which is 9 times 3. I know the square root of 9 is 3, so 3 root 3 plus 2 root 3. And the square root of 12 we just figured out was 2 root 3, so that's minus 2 root 3. Those are going to cancel, and our answer is 3 root 3. And lastly, we can break all these down. We just said square root of 20 was 2 root 5, so I know that this is a 2 root 5. I know 45 is a 9 and a 5, so the square root of 9 is 3. So it's going to be 9 root 5 plus 2 root 5 minus, well, 245. 5 can go in there because it ends with a 5. 5 goes into 24. 4 times, bring down the 4, 5, 49. This can break down to a 7 and a 7. So the square root of 245 is 5 times 7 times 7. Find a pair, bring it out. When I put them together, I get 9 plus 2, which is 11, minus 7, which is 4 root 5. Next page is multiplication, which is way easier, to be honest. We don't have to break these down just to combine them. It says to multiply radicals, multiply the expressions outside the radical, and multiply the inside of the radical, simplify if necessary. So here, the whole numbers go together, 14, and inside goes together, 6 times 3, 18. Well, that's not simplified enough, so I need to make sure to break it down. We saw that it was a 3 times a 6, and 6 is 3 times 2. I find a pair, and I bring it out. So 3 times 4 is 12, carry the 1. It's going to be 42 root 2. Here we're going to distribute. I have the distributive property because of the parentheses. A 4 times a 3 is a 12. Root 2 times root 2 is root 4. I simplify later. 4 times 2 is 8. Root 2 and root 6 is root 12. The square root of 4 is 2, so this is 12 times 2, which is just 24. The square root of 12 can be 2 times 2 times 3. Bring out the 2. It's going to be 8 times 2, which is 16, and that's your answer. Here we're going to do it again. Why don't you try pausing and doing this next one? So this is technically a 1. 1 goes to 5, 1 goes to 2. Doesn't change the outside, but the inside, 6 times 2 is 12, 6 times 3 is 18. If I break that 12 down, I'm going to get 2 times 2 times 3, 2 times 3 times 3. Find a pair, bring it out. Find a pair, bring it out. This is going to be 10 root 3 minus 6 root 2. There's nothing more I can do with that. Here, root 3 times 15 is a root 45. We have 2 terms and 2 terms, not like here. So we're going to FOIL. First, outer, 36. Inner, last. So I know the square root of 36 is 6. I know the square root of 45 is 9 times 5. I know the square root of 30 is 5 times 6, minus the square root of 24, which is 3 times 8. I break this down as much as I can. I find a pair and bring it out. There's no pairs here, so it's just minus the square root of 30. And I find a pair and I bring it out and I put these two back together as a 6. Square root of 5, no others. Just the number 6. Square root of 30, no others. Square root of 6, no others. So this is it. See if you can FOIL these two and then check. So a negative 930 and a negative 430 is going to be negative 13 root 30. Plus 12, this is going to be times 6, because the square root of 36 is 6. These are perfect squares, so it turns out really nicely. So these are going to become negative 13 root 30 plus 87. Here we're going to FOIL. 3 root 6. 3 root 6 is 9 root 36 minus 3 root 12 plus 3 root 12 minus root 4. We get the root 4 because 2 times 2 is 4. Whatever's under the radicand goes together. Well, the square root of 36 is just a 6. We said the square root of 12 is 4 times 3. Same thing here. Oh, these actually cancel out, so I don't even have to do anything. Positive and negative. And the square root of 4 is just a 2. So this becomes 54 minus 2, which is just 52. Okay. These are the same thing. When something is squared, it's something times itself. Okay, it's going to be the same thing here too. When you have a quantity squared, it's that quantity times itself. Expand it and then go ahead and FOIL. I want you to pause the video and I want you to try it yourself. It's going to be the square root of 9 plus the square root of 18 plus the square root of 18 plus the square root of 36. Square root of 9 is a 3. Square root of 36 is a 6. These are 2 square roots of 18. So this is going to be 9 plus 2. 18 is 9, which is 3 times 3 times 2. Have a 3, take it out. That's going to be 9 plus 6 square roots of 2. Pause the video, ask questions. If something's not clicking, you need to advocate for yourself and make sure you ask. Okay? Here it is squared, so we expanded it to something times itself. FOIL the first terms. First, 2 times 2, which is 4. Root 3 times root 3, which is root 9. 2 times technically a 1 is a negative 2. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 3 is 15. That negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. Negative 1 times negative 1 is a positive 1. Root 5 is root 25 when multiplied. This is going to become 4 times 3. Negative 2 is negative 4 root 15. plus 5. 12 plus 5 minus 4 root 15. I just put them in a different order. So 17 minus, well, 15 is 5 times 3. There's nothing more you can do with that. That's it. This was a lot of information in a short amount of time. Okay. If you need to pause, rewind, re-listen, you might. This section's actually easier. Okay. The multiplying is easier than the addition.